Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the Cool Kids Lunch Table podcast with PJ and Mike. Now, please find yourself a seat at their table.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Cool Kids Lunch Table podcast with PJ and Mike. As always, I am PJ.
And I'm Mike.
And today we are talking about a heavy topic, Doc. We're talking about Back to the Future. We're going to talk about the trilogy. We're going to talk about the Broadway show. Talk about a couple of other Back to the Future related items. But we're not going to do it with just me and Mike. We have a couple of special guests today, and Mike's going to introduce them.
Yeah, guys, we have my big brother, Rob, and we have my childhood friend and neighbor, Mr. Shawn Beatty. So, guys, say hello.
I'm Rob.
I am Shawn.
All right, perfect. So, folks, let me just give you some background on these fine gentlemen. So, my brother, he's my older brother and best friend. He's been playing drums for over 30 years and working as a teacher for over 16. Rob cites Mike Portnoy, Travis Barker, Charlie Watts, Carter Buford, Dave Grohl, Josh Freese as his influences for drumming. Rob has also dabbled in film. He and I started a production company years ago called Moran Brothers Productions. Rob is an avid film lover and fan of Robert Zemeckis, David Lynch, Quentin Tarantino, Christopher Nolan, and Martin Scorsese. He also enjoys pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. For my friend Shawn Beatty, he's been one of my best friends, and I grew up. He was my neighbor. He lived 2 houses down from me for over 30 years. Shawn has been playing guitar and bass for over 30 years as well. Shawn cites Led Zeppelin, Rush, Nirvana, Metallica, and Dream Theater as his influences. Shawn has also dabbled in film, performing in independent films and music videos. Shawn is a lover of sci-fi, action, comedy. He also cites Martin Scorsese, Spielberg, John McTiernan, and Christopher Nolan as some of his favorite directors. So, guys, like PJ said, this is heavy, Doc. So we got a very important show because we're going back
To the future.
Yeah, thanks for having us on the show. It's great
We're
to
happy
be
to
here.
have you here. We have some folks with credentials today, so this is
It's like
this
sitting
is
with
going to be
the
a
action
fantastic
set.
episode.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
With the
It's
magic
pretty
happens.
heavy.
Yeah. So, fellas, we always start off our episodes with a childhood memory. So, Rob, we'll start with you. What was your first experience since watching Back to the Future?
Well, I wish I could say I saw it in the movie theater, but we know it didn't happen. I was like 3 years old. I was probably still looking for my binky.
Mhm.
But I think I caught it actually on TV. I just found it very, mesmerizing. The action, who's going to beat the bully. It was very, attractable to me. The movie Car. I think I was sold in the car, honestly, when I started growing up.
Definitely.
It was just, probably one of my favorite characters in the movie. But it was just something I kind of gravitated to. Time travel is definitely something that kind of caught my interest too as a young age. So yeah, skateboards. I mean, as a young guy, this is like the perfect, kind of movie.
Yeah, great. Shawn, what about you, man? What was your first experience watching Back to the Future?
I think it was seeing the trailer when I went to see Batman. in the
Whoa.
movie theater. And it's a rarity because I don't want to go too far. It's just that I wasn't allowed to see certain PG films. That's why I just saw Ninja Turtles and other stuff.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, a little background story. But
Yeah.
it was right around the time when I saw the trailer, and I never saw it was trailer for Back to the Future Part 2. I see a flying DeLorean, and I'm into gear porn. Okay,
Right,
if you ever
right.
notice that phrase, it's like the Night 2000 from
Yep.
Knight Rider, the Ecto 1 from
Yep.
Ghostbusters,
Mhm.
and so on, the Enterprise. So I got the VHS tape for Christmas, and then it broke.
No.
So my dad I think my dad rented another tape and then did a copy.
Oh,
Back then
I think
used
so.
to
You
copy
switched them.
and then right around the time my brother was born, I saw Back to the Future Part 3. So I saw 2 and 3, but I never saw 1.
Wow.
Until a few months later,
You went back in time.
Right.
it was on TV, and this is my first time. I was aware of he went back because I saw it
Right.
too. So I finally saw the first film, and I had a different reaction compared to the other 2 films. because
Yeah.
I felt like this film, the first film, had more weight.
Oh, yeah.
The other 2 films. The other 2 films are just fun flicks. Or
Yeah.
there are issues too that
Yeah.
they have to deal with. But I felt like, with Marty's parents,
Right.
and getting the DeLorean going, and then Doc.
Right.
You know, it was just like, oh my gosh, there's so many things happening at once. It was just so exciting.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
it sucked me all in.
Yeah. Mr. PJ, what about you, man?
So what got me into Back to the Future was the time travel. I thought time travel was cool because I saw Bill and Ted before I ever saw Back to the Future.
Oh.
And so I was just like enthralled with the idea of people traveling back in time. And so I was like, I want to see more things like this. And I've always, even as a kid, was into comic books, and there's a lot of time travel aspects in comic books. So I just found that so unique and so interesting that then I wound up discovering Back to the Future because it was another movie where people are going back in time. And to your point, Rob, when you were saying how the car is like another character in the movie,
Yep.
I'm a big Ghostbusters fan.
Yeah.
And I love the Ecto-1. You mentioned, Shawn mentioned the Ecto-1. This was another really cool car in a movie. So that spoke to me also. It was like another awesome car. And that's just how I found myself enthralled with Back to the Future. And then as a kid, we went to Universal Studios and the ride. And the ride is fantastic. And
Absolutely.
we'll probably wind up talking about that later. But that was
Yeah.
another big part of Back to the Future that sticks out to me.
You know what's it's something I just want. I'm sorry to cut through,
No,
but
go ahead.
one of the things that I want to bring up about pop culture is that back in the '80s they did a lot when it comes down to motor vehicles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When
Oh
you
yeah.
Had, you had the Robert E. Lee from Dukes of Hazzard. You had the Night 2000 from,
Yeah.
as I said
Yeah.
before, and that attracted me a lot.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you know, I remember when we were kids, we used to exchange our Ecto ones.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's it's such an important factor because you don't really see that much today.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you
like
see-
you guys said, those cars were characters. I actually just wrote that down as a note, saying like you had Night 2000, you know, from
Yeah,
Knight Rider. You
even
had the Turtle Man, the
Yeah,
18.
yeah,
You
yeah.
had Christine, you know, the
Even-
killer
yeah.
car. You know.
Even the ships, like the Enterprise from Star Trek,
Yeah.
that's a character itself.
It is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
But the 80s was definitely, in the early, it was cars, man. Batmobile.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, bam. But much like my brother and most of you guys, I saw Back to the Future on TV. I feel like it was on channel like WPIX 11. And I remember just like watching it. It's like one of those shows, just like Gravity. And I remember just like between commercials, I would run take a piss. You know, like only sometimes like in movies where like when you used to watch the TV when there was commercials, like when the movie ended, like right before it, you kind of saw the climax of the situation. Then like you almost didn't want to see them because you knew it was like.
Right.
But I feel like Back to the Future, like I wanted to see how it really resolved because you knew he got back in time, and when he got back to the mall, they usually cut commercial right there. So we got the usually. You know, I feel like other movies wouldn't even crap me like, oh, that's but I want to be like, oh my god, why does he see his parents? And like I remember just waiting for actually I couldn't wait to see the credits because I was like that
Right.
much into. But yeah, TV is where I got into it. But yeah, everything else after that was just like it's everything about that. We're gonna start off with the first one, man. It just kind of it is like gravity, man. It just pulls you in. It's just it's like a vacuum.
Yeah, absolutely.
So PJ, you want to kind of start what makes we'll start with Back to the Future 1. What makes it special?
You want to start with the movies? We can start with the movies.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. The Broadway show.
Whatever
oh
you want to
my
do.
God.
We can start with the movies or the Broadway
Oh my
show.
God!
Maybe
Hello,
you're right.
butthead. I'm sorry.
Maybe we
Capricorn.
start with
Whoa,
the...
No, start with the Broadway
Start with the
show. I
Broadway show.
apologize. I apologize.
I'm not going
Yeah,
to
we hear about
spend
this.
too much time because it's the same plot as the movie. So,
Right. To ask you that,
yeah.
actually.
The
Yeah.
only big difference between the plot of the Broadway show and the plot in the movie is you can't have Libyan terrorists anymore because we live in a day and age where Libyan terrorists are not allowed to be stars in movies. So they changed that to something different. And it still works. I won't spoil it in case anyone listening
Okay.
does want to go to the show.
Is it a gang?
Was that?
Is it a gang?
Was it a gang? It was not a gang.
All right.
It was not a gang. It was something. Fuck it. You know what? I'm just going to spoil it. And if you don't want to hear it, cover your ears for the next couple of minutes.
Do it.
The plutonium is radioactive, and so Doc gets radioactive plutonium poisoning, and it kills him.
How could I have been so careless?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
he
who's
goes back in
But who
time.
chases them to go back to 1955?
Nobody.
Oh,
Nobody.
Yeah, he doesn't. Marty is going to get help for Doc, who's dying of poisoning.
Oh.
And then he winds up going back in time because Doc already had the car set.
I thought you were gonna say the government's after him because he needed
No,
he got stuff to make a bomb
You can't
or
be
something.
anti-government and you can't be anti-Libyan terrorist.
That's
That's
tough one.
That's
I really
tough.
wanna know about the plot.
Damn.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one, he goes back and finds a way to.
Yeah.
save him.
So you start with that, and then you're like, I don't know about this. But once that's over, the rest of the show is the plot of the movie. It doesn't stray from what, even so much as they have a way to show in the Broadway show on the stage. There's a way to see them disappear from the photos. So you can see, they keep everything else is spot on. It's just they had to change that one spot because we live in 2023 and you can't have living terrorists. What are you gonna do? The theater was packed, so we got to the theater, and there's always a line for a Broadway show. This line wrapped around like 2 city blocks. It was huge. I'm like, this is gonna be something because like I've been to plenty of Broadway shows. I've never seen a line like this, but it was worth it. It was worth waiting on the line and worth the money we paid. It really. I mean, if you're a fan of Broadway musicals, you're going to appreciate it because the music is fine. They do the Huey Lewis and the News. You get that. You get Johnny B. Good. You get it all. It's really fun to sit through because it's another take on Back to the Future. So you're watching the same thing, but it doesn't feel like you're watching the same thing.
How are the original songs?
They're Broadway original songs. I mean, there's no other way to... Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw a trailer for it, I think when it was still being like
Promoted
performed in
like
like,
in
London.
Yeah.
But I saw this really short clip where like Doc was singing to them like 88 mile per hour.
Yeah, it's the name of the song.
And I was like, I don't know, Doc, they can't do
it's
this.
show
And it
it's
kinda
show
totally
tunes,
turned me off.
man.
I couldn't look back. I haven't since, so I really wanted to hear
It's
show
tunesy. The music is straight up Broadway show tunes. If you're not
like
into
him
it,
put his arms like going like 88 miles per hour. And I turned the whole show tune. I'm not sure I can deal.
That's what it is. It's 100%.
But I do want to see it. I'm a big fan. I had to ask you that.
The effects with the cars, the way they do it, is great. I don't know if you've been to Disney and seen any of the Disney live, like in the parks with like the Marvel characters, but they do a thing where they have a big screen, and then they project onto the screen, but the screen is see-through, so you can see the effects with the actors at the same time, and they do that. So when they're, using the car, and you see all the fire and all the other stuff, it's an effect, but it's still on the stage with them. It looks really cool the way they do it. They have graphics so you can see like them traveling through time, and it's really done interestingly and well. Like the special effects, the production value on the show is spot on. The only negative for me, honestly, was the beginning where they took away the terrorists. The plutonium poisoning's a little iffy. And if you're not into Broadway show tune kind of music, it's going to be distracting because the whole thing is singing. It's a musical. The guy that plays George McFly is if they remade the movie, this guy would be 100% perfect. He didn't. It's not so much that he sounded or did an impression of Crispin Glover or anything like that.
Right.
But the mannerisms were still there, and he just really understood the character. He wasn't a huge part.
Right.
He's the same part in the movie, but the show is obviously focused on the guy playing Marty. But every time that guy's in a scene, he steals it. You can't help but love the guy. He did a great job. See it for him alone. Like if he was that great. It's a fun ride. It's Broadway ticket prices, so you're going to pay through the nose. The bar in the theater is expensive because it's a bar in a Broadway
in
theater.
New York.
In New York, yeah. But if you love Back to the Future, you'll find something in this show to like.
Okay.
All right.
Nice. Well done, Mr. PJ.
Yeah, definitely see it.
From here, yes, yeah.
The best part is actually the very ending when they do where we're going. We don't need roads. They have a car, full functioning car on the set that is the DeLorean. This thing floats. I don't know how they did it, and it spins upside down.
Wow.
So it's not just like doing like a teeter-totter back and forth. It's a full, complete rotation upside down. I don't know how they pulled it off. I can't figure out how they engineered it, but that was just mind-blowing. The whole place erupted when that happened.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
I dig it. So yeah, PJ, a very good review, and I'm curious to really see the show. So guys, we're gonna get into the movies. You know what, PJ's okay? I'll start off.
Go
okay,
for it.
All
Go for it.
So guys, I guess a few months ago, I think Quentin Tarantino was on. I think Jimmy Kimmel, one of those, and Quentin said that Back to the Future is on his list of perfect films. And let me tell you something. I agree with QT. I'm not gonna get
Perfect,
into.
huh?
Yeah.
All right.
And I just for me, I think this film is a masterclass in writing, directing, acting. It's everything. It's funny. It's comedy. It's science fiction. It's smart. It has suspense. Especially at the end when Doc is putting those two wires together. I mean, wow, that whole ending is just, and also it's a romantic comedy if you think about it. It's also a chick flick. You know me, I'm a sucker for opening credits. I really miss opening credits. Oof, just the way it starts. Oof. I'm just setting the tone. I always say that's all about setting the tone. I think credits do that. Like we said before, the car is a classic. Like we said, it's a character in itself. I love the chemistry between Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. Biff, Thomas F. Wolf, right?
Wilson.
Thank you, Shawnee Babes. And Lorraine, her name's slipping my mind right now.
Leah Thompson.
Yes,
Leah Thompson.
yes. Sean on fire.
Leah Thompson.
But I think we talked about, you said before about Crispin Glover. I really feel like maybe because like he has an estranged relationship now with Robert Zemeckis and that whole thing. But like I think he's almost like the unsung hero of Back to the Future 1. Like he's probably one of the funniest characters. The change that oil and just like confrontation and like kind of had like that voice and his mannerisms and he had the hair.
Yeah,
and
he was
everything.
great in the movie.
Yeah, I think another thing I like about they talk about like storylines. Like you think about like your main character and your overarching storyline. So like think about Star Wars. You have Luke Skywalker's story, and the overarching is Darth Vader. This is obviously Marty, and the overarching is George, and I just love that. It's done so damn well, and this movie just has tons and tons of just great lines. I don't know what else to say, so I'll just start off with there. So Big Brother Rob, what about you, man? What do you like about Part 1, man?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with a lot of that. Like I said, the opening credits, I love when I see a movie and I know it's going to be good. And I feel like even at a young age, like I knew. Just seeing the clocks and the camera kind of panning over, and now knowing all the detail that's in the clocks.
Yes.
I love the detail in Back to the Future. It's insane. I can watch it over and over and still find something new, whether it's a license plate that I find out means something or just like the details in the clocks. One of the clocks, there's the light post where there's like a drunk guy drinking from a mug. I mean, it's just so cool.
Yeah.
That's the bomb that shows
up. Then
yeah.
you see the plutonium case right on the floor.
Oh, yeah. So I was like skateboarding to it.
Yep.
What about the clock with
where he's hanging from it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that could be clearer,
Yeah.
And all the foreshadowing in that movie, throughout. Also being young, seeing, I found it very like understandable. Time travel. Even now, I am still obsessed with time travel. Sean actually told me many years ago he's gonna make a time machine, and I'm still waiting for it. But
still works.
And like I said, as a young boy, the skateboard. I had a skateboard. Music. I started playing drums young. Battle of the bands. Just the storyline, the romance, like you said. I'm kind of a sucker for that. The car. I'll never forget when I saw the car being backed out of the truck.
Oh
Doc's
yeah.
truck.
Oh yeah.
I fell in love. It's like I saw.
That's
it,
a classic scene.
It's almost like seeing like
I
a
want
great
that
ad. I'm like,
car.
oh my god, it's a great ad. Like when it came out, just the tail lights and the smoke. I was just like.
Yeah.
I was in love after that.
Yeah, that's a great.
The car definitely brought me back to it over and over.
That's
back
a great.
to the future, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And well, like I said, the detail and just when you go back and you see yourself, and he bumps into his dad. The whole premise was like blowing my mind. Like, and I can relate. I like to see my parents back in the day, and you hear stories, and you really want to know more about them, and it's just definitely relatable. So I'll leave it with that and pass the baton around.
Yeah, just real quick. I think, like you said,
There's so much more to say.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you said with just the reveal of the car, it's like one of those, that's like a magic movie moment. That's like a magic moment right there for sure. That whole scene at the mall.
Yeah, but still now that car, I think out of all the movie cars, like 1989 Batman, I love that Batmobile. The Back to the Future DeLorean still takes my breath away every time I see it. I almost like pass out.
Oh yeah.
It's just stunning to me.
Yeah, she's a knockout.
Yeah, exactly.
Shawnee Bays, what about you, man?
It's going out slicing. Blah blah blah. No, you guys pretty much explained everything that I would say. It's just that film, just like as I said earlier, it just hooked on to me. And there was a lot of films like you're a young kid back then. You're just I think I was like 9 when I first saw Back to the Future, and I did a lot of history. I was looking up the behind the scenes and stuff, and pretty much Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis put a lot of time into the script, and it took them a lot of years just to get this into production. And it's like they put a lot of time and effort just for like every cause and effect, every scene, and as Rob said, the Easter eggs.
Oh yeah.
All these there's things I noticed that.
I think this might be the first. I'm gonna cut you off, Shawnee Bays, but it's like almost like the first one that almost had like Easter eggs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know a lot of films always had foreshadowing, but I'm like this had like tons of them.
Well, looky what we have here.
Well, you gotta remember. Well,
I feel like it started that.
A lot of movies did. Easter eggs like Spielberg did with like they showed like
Oh, yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh,
they
yeah,
showed,
R2D2 and C.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, or E.T. with Yoda, but this film just the tone and the music and the pop culture from that timeline, especially going back to the 55,
Yeah.
you're just like, holy crap. There was a lot of things that I did not notice. Should I wait until I don't know. I should just bring this up now.
Yeah, just bring it up now. Yeah, we're going to do
So
that.
I was rewatching Back to the Future during 4th of July week, and there was something that just bothered me at the end of the film, and also going into part 2. There's a phrase that I think Marty was saying "rat" or something to someone, and I'm like, what is he saying? I did not understand what he said. So then when I was rewatching Back to the Future Part 1, there's a scene where they're when he's in Hill Valley, and he sees a car coming by, and they're promoting Mayor Red Thomas. Progress is his middle name, and I'm
Right.
like, Red. So then at the end, so when he goes back to 1985, he's like, oh, great, Red, everything's great. I was like, the bum is the mayor from 1955.
Oh.
I was like,
okay.
he was calling him Red. I was
Right.
like, I never knew that. I was
Yeah.
like, holy crap. Like,
Right.
that's pretty interesting, when you think about it. But, yeah, it's just all the elements that you guys have said when it comes down to action, when it comes down to storytelling, the drama, the romance, comedy, and all sorts of, the freaking car. All right? I can't stop, that. When the DeLorean came out during the 80s, you would look back at it now, it's like, what a ridiculous looking thing that they built by this, but then when you see it used in that film, it was like just perfect. It's perfection at its finest. So
My favorite character in the first one and all of them is really Doc.
Right.
Everyone, I know a lot of people always gravitate towards Marty because he's technically the main character. But even when I watch like Star Wars, my favorite character in that is Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the person that's supposed to guide the hero. But what I liked about Back to the Future is that the person that's guiding your hero is a maniac.
Right.
Like nobody in their right mind should listen to Doc Brown. He's a lunatic.
Right.
But he's the guy he's the smartest guy. He's the guy, really making the plans and saving everyone and fixing everything. And the fact that he's so wild, I just think is so funny because you never see that. There's always a wizard or something in these kind of movies that's like wise and smart, but not crazy. And he's just a madman.
what was pretty interesting about Doc is that when you first see him, he comes off as a mad
Right.
scientist, and even after, and then you see him get killed off. But then in the second act, you meet him, he's still this crazy guy. But then as the story's progressing, you remember, wait, he was killed, and then all of a sudden, instead of seeing this mad guy, now you care for the character.
Right, exactly.
I don't want to see him die. He's a great character.
Exactly.
Right.
They twisted on you.
Right.
I think his arc in the movie, all three of them, is possibly my favorite character arc throughout the entire franchise. I'm gonna blow everyone's mind when I say this, but my favorite of the three Back to the Futures is the third one.
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's because of how much it relates to Doc, and you start to see him as more than just the crazy funny doctor. He wants to find someone to be with. In the end, we're not on Back to the Future 3 yet,
Yeah.
but
And I'll just add to, Marty, what I'll say in defense, not defense, but Marty was important because he's a 17-year-old young guy who would kind of believe in him, follow his craziness, be willing to jump in a time machine.
Exactly.
He's seen some crazy stuff. He's the only one willing to kind of listen to him.
Exactly.
Strickland always like, yo, stop hanging out with that crazy scientist.
Right.
So he's always kind of got his back. And
it's
also
it's a great combo. It's a great duo.
And
getting stuck in
I never felt Doc was like delusional. You know what I mean? Or like he was always very grounded. I think when you make any person who invents something new, they always sound crazy.
Right.
Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. Walt
I think
Disney.
my favorite.
They're both just so
I think
strong.
my favorite Doc moment is when he explains how he creates the flux capacitor.
Oh yeah.
He was afraid of heights, but he was on his toilet bowl and he slips off and hits his head, and that's when he came up with the idea.
Do you ever saw the Adult Swim? What was that? Robot Chicken version?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
But I always wonder if he sat down on the bowl to draw it up.
Yeah.
Just in the bathroom.
Right.
Like, I picture myself like sitting down and then drawing.
But
it
he was
out.
hanging up a clock in the
hanging a clock
bathroom.
in the
I know
bathroom.
that part. That he was hanging
Hanging
up
a clock in the
Back to
bathroom.
time. Yeah.
I also love the scene with, like, obviously I think Christopher Lloyd's very good at physical comedy.
Yes,
And one of my
absolutely.
favorite scenes that always makes me laugh is when Marty's in 1955 and I think Doc's showing him the DeLorean. He's like upgrading it, whatever it is. Like he's putting the doohickeys in the front, blah blah blah, or that pole he's gonna stick in it. And then Lorraine knocks on the door, and he's like, "All right, quick!" And then he's like, "Oh, this is my uncle." And like when she's talking to Marty, he's like looking at him like with these beady eyes, like. You know, like this, that not a word is spoken, and that nonverbal communication is amazing.
So to that point, they do that scene in the Broadway show,
right?
Where she knocks on the door and they hide everything, and he does that same nonverbal like staring at her thing. They do that in the Broadway show. Right. That just shows how important that little scene, that little moment is.
Yeah.
I know it's funny not to jump into the other movies, but that kind of happens again with Marty too. When like Doc, when Clara shows up, a lot of the scenes kind of repeat.
Yeah,
But
parallel
Doc's
reverse.
eyes,
Parallel scenes.
You can cover his mouth and his nose and still laugh your butt off the whole time.
Rob, you mean those puppy dog eyes?
Yeah.
What's funny is that a lot of films do this trick where it's called parallel scening. When you do a sequel, they like to try to repeat a scene from the original film.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Home Alone was good with that, and I'm trying to think of another film, but yeah, Back to the Future was good like that.
Oh yeah,
especially
they
when
nailed it.
Yeah.
Plus, they almost like had to kind of
Yeah.
led to
Yeah.
the movie that it was like, you know.
I was gonna say also with just with Doc, one of my favorite things is when he's like, maybe he fills that model set and he's like, please forgive the crudity, but always like when it goes so funny, he goes like,
No, I like the one where he's like, sorry, I didn't have time to paint it.
I mean that whole man, that first one is like.
I like when he
movie.
sees him and he has that weird hat thing on. There's no explanation for what's on his head. He just has this weird like colander on his head.
This means that thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about when he's jumping in the middle of the street going 88 miles per
Yeah.
hour? Like,
Yeah.
everything he does. His
Just
antics
crazy.
are insane.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Even at the end when he, again jumping up, like when he's gone, like
Yeah.
it's all over.
Yeah.
Did it.
What about when the Libyans come? He's like, unroll your flag. Like, who would even say that in a moment like that? How about the truck?
Or mispronouncing gigawatt with gigawatt.
Gigawatt.
Oh yeah.
That's like the classic. No one knew what a gigawatt is, so we probably just read that and said gigawatt.
Right.
Yeah, I would have pronounced it gigawatt as well. Mm-hmm.
21 gigawatts!
Oh my God, it was another thing I wanted to talk about. I think we always quote Back to the Future, you know, before we get to the next one. But I always say Dad because he goes, Dad, wait,
Daddy-o.
George. Then later on he goes, hey, what's up, Dad?
Yo.
Daddy-o.
Yeah.
So I've used those things in my vocabulary now. So, man, talk about a perfect film. But guys, we go to Back to the Future 2. And I want to start with this. Let me just start with this question, if you guys don't mind. Did we need a sequel? Fasten your DeLorean seatbelts.
Absolutely not. We did not need a sequel. But I'm not mad that it exists. However, I think Back to the Future 2 is the weakest of the three.
Okay.
All right.
I think it's
PJ, start us off, bro.
Yeah, I'll start with
I
that.
maybe agree with that one.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad movie by any stretch, but I think it tries too hard to capture the feeling of the first movie, but in reverse. Because we're in the future, we're starting in the future now, and for me, I'm like lightning in a bottle with the first movie.
Oh yeah.
That you can't do it again, and then I just felt like they tried very hard to make this the same movie, only in the future instead of the past, and to the point where they're in they go back there, and it's the whole thing. You see the diner again, only now it's a futuristic. It's the same to me. I don't know. I don't think it's bad. I think they tried too hard, in my opinion.
Well, here's something I'm just going to add on to it. I agree with you. I think this was the weaker one, and to be honest, and I'm going to be honest right now.
Wait, Shawn, are you going to be honest right now?
He's gonna be honest.
Here we go.
He's gonna be honest. Something big's about to happen.
Great Scott.
I always watch the first film more than I watch the sequels.
Oh, yeah.
But that doesn't mean I hate the sequels.
Of course.
I do enjoy watching it. As I said before, it's like, the second and third film feels like an adventure film, but the first one felt like it was more grounded.
You're right.
But the thing that I liked about the second film was like, okay, the 3-act structure. You have the first act. They go into the future, which, half of it may have happened. The other half never happened. They try to go Blade Runner style. And then they go back to 85, and then they're in a parallel universe.
Right.
So now the goal right there is to try to fix this, and then the third act would be the 1955, where they end up going back to the first film.
Right.
Now, I do agree with you that I think some of this is a little ridiculous, but on the other half, for like a fun tale, like, you know, if I want to really not think too much about it, it is a fun movie to watch, you know, just to see them go back. And yeah, it is kind of challenging, but they did play around with a lot of like special effects back then, especially like
when he passes himself and things like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it still holds up too. All the effects in this movie still hold up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. No, I'll add this. Like, with Back to the Future 2, you know, sometimes I can't be too critical. I love Back to the Future, but I found that it kind of like moved quickly, and you had to like accept a lot of things. So, like, for example, like Biff just knows how to drive the time machine.
He just jumps in.
And I feel like I was like, oh, I actually watched it recently, kind of, a couple of weeks ago, kind of prepared for this even. And I was like, oh, come on. I almost like, God, he just jumps in, knows how to drive it, knows where he's going, how to come back.
Right.
You know, you have to be, you know, accepting of that. Even kind of Jennifer just jumps in also. I'm in a time machine, gets her going back.
Doesn't question anything.
Yeah, nothing really questioned.
Like, you're not Chloe Wills.
And they get kind of sloppy. Like, I know they're in the future, but they just park on the street. They're talking about whatever. Like,
and they just hide her in like a garbage pail, whatever they do with her.
Yeah,
and
then throws it down.
And she just doesn't wake up, and no one finds her there.
Yeah,
like,
so it's a lot of that.
a
lot of like the.
Well, technically, that scene was supposed to happen like in 5-minute time. Like 5 or 10. Well, it doesn't feel like 5 or 10 minutes, but you know,
that's what I mean.
But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I do like a lot of the parallel scenes. I do like the, you know, going back in time, seeing himself run around, like, you know, the dance and everything, and trying to figure things out and all that. So, you know, I do enjoy all of that. The almanac, I think, was genius.
That was great. That's great.
That's a great plot device.
That's a great
so
plot
I think
device.
that kind of also made me kind of like, not like the movie again, but as I'm watching, I'm like, all right, that's cool.
Right.
I can accept this, but
the positives outweigh the negatives of the film.
So that almanac was awesome. So, yeah. So it was like a big issue for them. You always had to have a problem. That was you know.
I was gonna say kind of what Shoney Bebs says. This movie is actually does like, you know, 2 movies in one, because you have 2015, then you have 1955 and the parallel, 1985. You know, I agree. This movie has its flaws, but I think for a sequel, it's awesome. This is like a 8.5 out of 10, a 9 out of 10.
Oh, it's a great
the
movie.
first one is a 10 out of 10. This is
definitely.
8.5. I think.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say what I like about this one a lot though is it makes, because you think about the first one, right? Biff, right? He loses, right? But they made this one. He came back. It's almost like Super Shredder. He came back,
right?
And you even hate him more, right?
Yeah.
Now he's like, the cigar twirling. He's in the Plaza, whatever it's called, the Trump. Whatever. I mean, it was based off that character, but like, I mean, for crying out loud, they killed George McFly in the beginning. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, in the alternate timeline, he got blocked off.
He's an asshole.
Well, he goes, the human flies with the same gun. Like,
And I think this, like I said, I agree too with I never liked Biff. He all of a sudden knows how to use the DeLorean, and I think.
Go ahead.
I think all of us, if you're have made a film before, we know like sometimes you gotta just roll with the punches. I'm sure you can, but it could be a 4-hour movie. You know what I mean? But some things I just kind of want to point out that I love about this film. I love when they go to 2015. Now it's in the past technically, but that was so exciting as a kid.
I felt very let down by 2015 when we finally got there. To be honest.
Isn't it crazy though that the Cubs almost actually won?
Yes.
They won. They won. They won it the following year, but they.
Well, it's okay. The Mets beat them, and then they lost in the.
Right. Right. But
that was like a double win for us, I guess.
But there's some things I just want to point out. I always like when they went to Marty's house, or like when he's an adult, and you see needles. Yeah. But I always liked, I guess, what was it, Marty Jr.? He's
Marty Jr.
Yeah.
Oh, like, hey, Griff. I always loved his voice. When I was a kid, I didn't realize Michael J. Fox was his daughter, or, I thought he was actually kind of hot.
Yeah.
What else? Obviously the hoverboard. What a class! That's another. That's like another thing. That's like it's almost just as iconic. Yes.
I wish we had the hoverboard like that. Not this.
Not the ones on wheels.
Yeah, the one.
The one that's not
the one
hovering.
you fall on your back and it's like
right. And there's maybe. All right, so let me tell you some things. Just things I didn't like to be different from you guys. So, I was always found it I understand I had to add something. Is the chicken complex? All of a sudden, Marty gets upset when they call him a chicken,
Right.
I always laugh when that guy presses that button. And then, wait, hold on, Shorty Babes. Another thing I didn't like. This is actually at the very end of the film. Well, actually, one of the things I love of the film how it ends.
Yeah.
When Marty in the water and the rain and the guy goes, "You Marty McFly." I mean,
We got a message for you.
Whoa!
Yeah.
I mean, talk about like that's a shit your pants moment.
Right.
But the thing that pisses me off is right after it ends, like. Then they show the goddamn clip from part 3.
Yeah.
I stole Rob's almanac. For crying out loud, like I feel like why did they put that in there?
Yeah.
It just ruins the like you were like picture at the end of your seat. Like they could have been like I feel like the movie could have made even more money. I have no stake in it, but I never liked that. And today, if you watch that movie today on TV or the DVD, that still comes right after that.
Yeah.
I mean, for crying out loud, Bob, Gail, Bob Zemeckis, can you edit that out? Just leave it off. But the reason why I think that is in there is because I think what you were saying too about they were writing this film, the second one. Obviously, they didn't think they were going to write a sequel.
Right.
Obviously, they made a ton of money. They offered it. I think they wrote 2 and 3 at the same time.
Yes.
That's why I think these films work really well. And that's why you have these things in the chicken complex that it goes to part 3.
The chicken complex, I just want to bring up. This was an interesting theory that another podcast brought up. I just want to bring it up.
What podcast? Give them credit.
I forgot the name.
So we're getting sued.
So
We're sending
this is
bills to
just a
you.
theory. They believe,
Put in
when
the
they did the chicken complex during the second and third film, the reason why that he had the chicken complex is because he altered. In the first film, he kind of altered his timeline in a way by, like for instance, like the parents are now, like the house is all new, they
Right.
different
Right.
looks and auto detailing and stuff. But it may have affected him a little bit because, when you look back at earlier in the film, the father's a coward. But now you see this version of him, he's like more strong, and so then he doesn't need to like teach him. So then,
okay.
I actually
Yeah,
thought
I could see
I
that.
thought the chicken complex came because throughout the first movie, obviously George McFly is a coward,
Right.
and I always thought the chicken complex came because he saw his father being a
Right.
coward
And so
in
he
the
got a
past,
lot of
in the
more
genes.
pride.
and he's like, I don't want to be the way my father was as a coward.
Right.
So don't call me a chicken because I'm not like that guy. And I don't think he felt that way originally in the first
Right.
movie because he didn't know how deep his father's cowardice went
Right.
until he went through the past. I thought that's why they incorporated that. Or I could be looking too deep into the movie, but
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Rob, did you want to finish some? And that was great, PJ. That was a great point. Rob, did you want? I think you wanted to share something.
No, just
oh.
in terms of that final closing scene,
Yeah.
Not only that, like, I agree when they go into the next film, I was just like total buzz.
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
you sucked the whole suspense out of that ending.
Yeah.
Why would
And
they
you had
do
to
that?
accept
That
the
must have been
idea.
studio stuff. That had to be like someone's
That
to
had
help
to be
it.
And you knew who's going
Yeah.
into the past,
Yeah.
You
Right.
had to accept the idea of like riding horses and the whole idea, like that's a different field.
Yeah.
You had to be okay with.
that's
you know?
another thing. Is also the letter to Marty, like 75 years later. It's like what? It's like I'm in September 1st, 1885.
Yeah.
But I actually
Yeah.
I actually like that a lot.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's fun.
But
It's
Western
fun.
Union
But
is
the reality
considered.
down
They
to
said
what
this
the
Western
subjectively,
Union was
yeah,
like,
it's fun,
like
you
the
know,
If then it'd be like, no, the doc's alive.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
that was just
Yes, I mean subjectively, yeah, it's the fun part, but in reality, like you actually have a letter saying, "Wait, 75 years."
Well, they were placing their bets on
Right.
that.
Oh yeah, that's what I was
That's
saying.
true.
Yeah,
I know.
because they
Yeah.
addressed
That's how good
that.
Western Union is.
Oh,
yeah,
Where's
yeah.
Western Union now?
Yeah, they actually were. No, seriously, they said that
Yeah.
Western Union's like one of the most reliable things besides the post office.
Yeah, that's
for,
why they utilized it.
Whatever.
So
But then we get to Back to the Future 3.
Yes.
And I know that a lot of people for some reason don't like Back to the Future 3, but I love it. I love that it takes place in the Wild West. I like that it has a completely different feel.
Yep.
I think it humanizes Doc the most out of all 3 of the
Yep.
movies.
Yeah.
I think it's so fun. I don't know why people
I think
shit
people,
on it.
I think people crap on it because it's like. I think it's like a Yoko Ono with Clara, but she's really not annoying.
No,
I don't really find
I don't
her
find
that
her
big
annoying.
at all. You know?
Well, since you brought that up, I'm gonna jump into this
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah, of course.
I'm
No,
not
go.
gonna lie,
Rob.
there was a time I actually hated Clara.
Right.
Because I just feel like I just knew she was gonna like spoil the situation. She
Right.
was gonna be the one that something's gonna happen. They're not gonna make the trip. The trip's
Right.
gonna get interrupted.
Right.
I want to be like, Marty, take the telescope, crack it over your knee, and be like, yeah,
Right.
go find yourself over that ravine.
Right.
Okay, because I got stuff to do. I'm trying to get back. You
Right.
know? But I do love the romance. Doc Warren
Right.
finds romance.
Right.
And I love the
Big.
train.
Yes.
Yeah,
That was another character.
That's another thing I want to talk about. When I was watching this film, it reminded me of Indiana Jones. What was it, The Last Crusade? When you got young Indiana Jones on the train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're filming the whole train set like in real life. And same thing with Back to the Future. They're filming in real life. It wasn't done in a studio.
Yep.
They were outside. They
On
were,
a train.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they were. They
Yeah.
set it up where you could easily get to one part.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
it's just it felt so real. It felt so like live-like.
You could feel the stakes being on the train.
Yes.
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 Compared to today, when you got CGI, you're just in a blue or green
Yeah.
screen studio, and the volumes comes down, and it's
Right.
like the you know the uncanny valley of
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about
Awkwardness.
an arc, like
Yeah.
Marty's love, Doc finds his love.
Right.
He
Yeah.
always kind of hinted he wanted love, and never
Right.
had time for it. And, was it in him? He talks about
Yeah.
writing that
Yeah.
great piece. I never wrote something beautiful, like when he wrote that other note to Marty and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And
I was-
seeing the clock tower being built.
Yes.
Like, that
Yeah.
was like
That had to
whoa,
cost
like,
a lot
That
of
was
money.
something when you saw like this the scaffold and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that. It cost a
Sorry.
lot of money just to build, because the first two films when they're in Hill Valley, it's like they're in their studio. We've seen it.
Yeah.
We've
Right.
been to California, but this one they're like out in the field and they just build a whole set right there.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. With
And it
so
actually really captures the vibe of a Western movie too. It's
Yeah.
not it's not poking fun at Western movies or anything like that.
Not at all.
It really
Yeah.
respects what a Western movie is. I like some of the old John Wayne movies like Rio Bravo and stuff like
Yes.
that. And it feels like especially when they're going to do the shootout. Yeah, it's funny, but it doesn't disrespect what those Western movies are. You can
Right.
see they had a real appreciation for how those movies were shot, filmed, everything behind them. I really, really like Back to the Future 3. I think technically, when you look at a movie, Back to the Future 1 is probably the best.
Yes.
But I enjoy Back to the Future 3 the most.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what? I appreciate 2 and 3 in my own way.
Right.
Like Return of the Jedi. Return of the
Right.
Jedi is not a perfect film, but the thing that got me more hooked on to was Luke's. I'm throwing the conversation off, but Luke's storyline.
Wrong trilogy.
But when you got to the end of that, I was just like soaked in, and
Right.
And it's like the same thing with Back to the Future Part 3. It's like with all the stakes that they gotta get back. Doc has a relationship with
Yep.
Clara, and just hoping that they make it to 1985. It's like the stakes are there. It's just the same thing. It's
Right.
the same feeling.
And it has a satisfying conclusion.
Yes.
Yes.
They're never going to make it Back to the Future 4, and you don't need one. This wrapped up that storyline, I think,
Right.
just
Oh
perfectly.
yeah, especially you make what was it? Do you have it written? it's
What are we
not
doing?
it's not yeah. Like the future hasn't been written yet.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to write yourself for it.
Right.
This
Yeah.
movie also, I feel like the emotion in it. I can watch sometimes get a little tight, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
water up a little bit. Them find their way out of there, Doc's love, and then the time machine being destroyed at the end. That
Yeah.
destroyed me. Like
Yeah.
that was tough.
Yeah.
Talk about, like I said before, the main character for me was one of them, the DeLorean. To see
Yeah.
it smashed up, that was tough.
It was like he
Yeah.
died.
That was tough to
It was
see.
like he died.
That was
Yeah, I
heartbreaking.
agree.
Yeah.
That was like seeing like kids.
That's
It's
good.
it's like
that's
seeing
a
the
great
it's
point.
like seeing the Enterprise
So-
being destroyed in Star
Right.
Trek 3: The Search for Spock.
Right.
Oh.
The music, the scenes, like
Yeah.
Yeah, there's even
I didn't know it was
dancing with
that
Clara. Like then I started
Right.
loving Clara. Like I would love to dance with her too. Like
Yeah.
that's just so you can get
Yeah.
wrapped up in that whole thing.
Yeah, I think what also makes this movie work is like, I think all the films that really do, especially the sequels, is like they don't feel rushed. Sometimes
Right.
the sequels feel rushed. This took its time. Like I just
Yeah.
love how Marty and Doc go in that cave and they find the DeLorean. They have to break that wood. I love going back to like I said, like they made Biff. Now he's Buford Tannen. Now he's like, now you hate him even more.
Right, yeah.
Leave
He
this
just
family
doesn't
alone.
go away, yeah.
Leave Brittany alone. Leave Marty alone. I always liked just like these different side characters. Remember when they're in the bar, and that one guy's like,
Yeah.
he's like, if you don't fight him, you'll be known as the biggest yellow belly in the West.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's actually also in Roger Rabbit. He's one of the bullets
Yeah.
that Eddie
Oh.
Valiant shoots. But I don't know. I just love the whole feel and I think as I got older, like you, Rob, I appreciate Clara more, and I think it gave Doc a moral dilemma. Like they always had dilemmas, but now it's like, okay, now I fell in love. I saved her life because she actually dies
Right.
in Clayton Ravine. Now it's Eastwood Ravine or whatever it was. They renamed it. Right, yeah, because at the end I think he flew off the ledge.
Yeah.
But I think that was a good impact. This the whole ending with the train was like. Everything's about time. They're running out of time. Like everything, they're running out of time. Like this,
Right.
they're running out of.
Time.
They're running out of track.
Yeah.
They're running out of
Time
track.
machine still having that time.
So, but My only real issue with this movie is at the very, very end, it felt rushed. When, like, Doc couldn't get off that, like, the platform to trade and, like, give Marty a hug. Like, yo, I guess he had a time. Yo, I'll see you next week, bro.
Right.
You know, I'll see you in a minute from now. Like, you know, like, couldn't give him a goddamn hug. You know, I know the whole thing with the weird kids, you know, what they're called, you know, Jules and
One
Vern.
guy doing some
Yeah, I know. It's like,
when I kind of
Yeah.
Doc will kind of get together.
But
It's like
it's a
one-
great film.
I like one of the best scenes where he talks about, you know, the future makes it wherever you want to make it, and you see the kids pointing
Right.
out, like, I gotta pee.
Yeah. No, but that's true though.
Yeah.
Like after all that journey.
Yeah.
And I think also it's funny you said that because I was thinking about that. Like maybe they're just worried about the time of the movie, like how much
Yeah,
more time.
I know how much-
Right?
Yeah.
You know, I love you, man. It's been a great 3 movies. You know, it's been a wild ride, and I haven't seen. I'm also a little grown. Family ties. I'm wiped out right now, but you know, they found a way to do. But so I try to say that. 'Cause I'm the same way. I would give you the biggest hug, bro. Like, you know
Right,
what I
of
mean?
course.
Like,
Well, a lot
and,
of
like,
movies
it's
have
just-
like those type of endings.
Right.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I-
all
But
right, we gotta wrap it up.
I know it
It's
didn't
like-
ruin the movie, but it
No, but I
still
agree,
pissed me
You
off.
want to
like,
see more with the characters.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
how much because that's how much we like these characters.
They need
Right.
another
Yeah.
minute. I mean,
Yeah.
come
Right.
on.
Well,
like,
maybe it
Zemeckis.
felt rushed. It's like, yo, we're in broad daylight with this giant flying train.
There's
We gotta
another
make
train
it work.
coming. We gotta go.
Yep.
You're right, though. One more
So
minute
the-
wouldn't have broke the bank. You know what I mean? Like, jeez, you made enough money for the first one.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But
It's really a testament to those characters. It really is.
yes, yes.
And these characters are just so great, and like they've infected pop culture so much
Yep. Mm-hmm.
to the point where this is why we have Rick and Morty.
Yes.
I mean, and I don't know if you guys watch Rick and Morty the cartoon, but
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite
Yep.
shows on TV, and it's only exists because Back to the Future exists. Like
Yeah.
Rick is Doc and Morty is Marty. They, you know, and it just shows like years and years how these movies aren't new.
Right.
And this many years later, it's still influencing pop culture. It's just a
The
testament to
obsession
the
is
right.
still there, stronger
Yeah,
than ever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Before we wrap up with the trilogy, I just want to say my last key things of what makes this trilogy sensational is obviously, like you said, with the characters, the music by Alan Silvestri. I mean,
Oh,
they don't
yeah.
make scores like that anymore. I mean, it gave magic that little like in the beginning and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, and that like so triumphant. But I also love the cinematography. This movie looks.
Yeah.
It still looks good.
It does.
How come? Get that guy. Hopefully, it's or woman, whoever make get them. This movie looks still damn good.
Yep.
We have a movie that comes out that'll look this nice.
Yeah,
Damn,
it's true.
The lighting, it's just colorful. And everyone looks
It's all
nice.
real. It's like taking
Well,
time
that's
to
why it
set,
looks so
like,
good, is 'cause
planned
it's
out
real.
shots, you
When
know,
it, like during, like I
filming
remember,
on location.
I
you know,
remember,
like-
I noticed in the first 2 movies when they were in the parking lot of the high school, if you look in the background by the windows, you see like a neon light, like either like a bright blue or like a little purple or it's like these weird colors in the. It's
Right.
like this nice
Right.
looking
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
colorful
yeah,
scenery
the vibe,
that
yeah.
they purposely put there just to
Yeah.
get
You give it the
Yeah.
yeah,
the
sure.
ambiance,
Mhm.
exactly.
Well, you can have a good-looking film when there's something to film. If you go to the movie and the entire thing is shot in front of a green screen,
Yeah.
it's very tough
Yeah.
To act,
to act in front
And
of
expensive.
it, and expensive, and tough to film because there's nothing to film. To go back to Star Wars, because you were comparing it a little bit to Star Wars. If you watch the prequel trilogies, the scenes are all very short, and they can only walk like 10 feet because
Right.
they run
Right,
out of
yeah.
set.
Right.
So that's why all the walking scenes in the prequels are very quick and they don't go anywhere. It's because there's nowhere for them to go. You can't shoot it. What is the cinematographer going to do? They have
No,
whatever the
true.
size of the stage is all they get.
Don't you think it's a
Right,
little
right.
ironic
Wasn't
that
also-
Marvel's kind of imitating that too? After
Yeah.
what was it, Red Alert Media
Yeah.
explained the
Yeah.
problem, and now you're seeing Disney doing the same
Yeah.
thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like
Wasn't Zemeckis also the director who said like to wet the streets to
Yes.
film at night and
Yeah.
it's better at night?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a genius in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, idea, and it's so true.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
gives it that
Yeah,
pop.
facts. Yeah, yeah.
Before we kind of go to the ride, I just want a quick question. Well, you guys, I want your opinion. I know we're running out of plutonium in our but we still have a couple of things to get to, folks, and we thank you for sticking with us, and hopefully you've enjoyed this ride thus far. He started in 1985, right? He went back 30 years, 1955. Then he went back to 1885. I'm not good at math, but that's more than 30. Do you think he could have went back to 1935? You think that would have made the movie? I'm just curious. You think
They
they
made-
should have done that, or
I mean,
like just for you guys? I know whatever. Maybe I know that Michael J. Fox wanted to do it in a western, but and that's why they went that direction.
I don't think it would have worked in 1935 because I don't really think I want to see Marty McFly and Doc versus the Nazis.
Right. Okay.
Actually,
okay. Touche.
there was a Tall Tale game that they did called Back to the Future.
I remember that
and they
game,
went
yeah.
back to the
Oh.
20s. And yeah, and it was like young Doc Brown, like
Right.
being eager into like the
Right.
father was forced him to be like a lawyer, but
Right.
Doc had, and basically they interfered something that made him not do that, and then they altered their present time because he decided to become
Right.
like this. I don't know, the controlling towns. It's kind of a repeat of the other movies, but. Yeah, they kind of did something like that with the game, which was pretty interesting. It was like a 6-part game. I had it on my laptop before my laptop crashed, but it was a fun game. It was all right.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was interesting to see like a different take on that.
I don't know if the 30s would have felt different enough.
That's what I was gonna say. That it wasn't, a time period you can kind of like change it up enough.
Right.
You know,
Right.
what's going on? And
Fair
you have
point.
something obvious, like you said, some terrible things we don't want to see. But yeah, I think they did a good job by going further back to make
Yeah,
it
I think
different
it-
type
I
of
think it works
environment
better.
and setting. You had to really give it a flip.
I think it would be a little too ridiculous too if you went during that time period. It's just
Yeah, but that's a fair
you get
point.
run
Yeah,
into the
it's not far back. That's a
great-grandparents?
good point.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
still people that
Yeah.
they might know.
Right.
this is going to alter my life. It's
Yeah.
like
It's like you
enough,
might bump into
enough.
someone, right?
Yeah.
at the same
Right.
time
Do
period.
something else.
Hey, that's why they made these great films. That's why they didn't listen to me. But another thing they did make that was amazing was Back to the Future: The Ride at Universal
That
Studios.
ride
This
was
ride
amazing.
is a classic. I mean, unfortunately, they re-skinned it with the Simpson ride,
It's
which
not
I
as
don't.
good.
No, not
Not
as
as
good.
good.
Not as
I
immersive
like
or
The
anything.
Simpsons, but why you do that to
First
my
of all,
boy?
when The Simpsons came
Why
out,
you do
I
that to
was
my
like,
boy?
Yeah, I was hating because The Simpsons
Yeah,
took it
me
over.
too.
I'm like,
I
no,
was so
no,
mad.
no. 'Cause I'm sorry, the ride, like I mentioned before, again with the car, but when you approach the car, the smoke coming out,
Yeah.
It was great.
you climb in, it felt like just you were riding the movies, like they were
Yeah.
promoted. Like that was just amazing.
And everyone remembers
mind-blowing as
that
a
you're
kid.
going
It
into the
was-
dinosaur's mouth.
Yeah.
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 To give some of our audience members who didn't go on the ride, because now it's been gone for quite a number of years now. But
Forever,
basically, when
feels
you
like.
walked online, there was like a
Is it that long?
Yeah.
like a briefing room, and basically, Biff stole the time machine, and you and Doc, he's gonna give you the DeLorean. You have to go and basically
Get it back.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, you just go different type of the Jurassic Age, and they're narrating it. And I think on the DVDs, actually, you can ride the
Yeah.
you know,
can.
obviously it's not the same, but what a magical ride. I mean,
It was
Dan,
great.
that's like one of the best rides ever made.
I love
ever
that
made.
ride.
One of
It's
the
an
things
absolute
that-
classic.
One of the things that annoyed me about Universal Studios in Hollywood and Florida is that they had the train and they had the DeLorean.
Yeah.
And it was treated like crap.
Yeah, but now they restored
They
it.
did, yes.
They
They
did
did, and the
restore
train
it.
too.
Thank God.
Yeah.
It was like, what are you guys doing? I remember when I first went to the Florida Universal Studios in '94, and I see the train. I'm taking a photo of the train, and it's like right away. I was like,
Right.
what the hell is this? It's
Right.
like, but they
What is
eventually
this hunk of
restored
junk?
it. Yeah, exactly. But they eventually restored
Speaking
I
it.
was shocked they didn't really take care
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
One of the things I just real quick, hopefully we have some listeners who make toys or make merchandise. Can someone please make a
Yes.
toy of the DeLorean train? I want it. Can
Yes.
That's
someone
still
please?
mind blowing.
And if you make
I
it-
got the car.
They
I
made it
made
for the
train.
McDonald's, Happy Meal toy, but I want an actual nice
And
toy
they're still selling
train.
tons of Back to the
Hey,
I don't know
DeLoreans,
why.
what's
It's
going on
shocking.
inside?
I
No
wanted
one owns
to
a
close my
patent. No one owns a
collection.
patent of that
Yeah.
train.
Yeah.
If you decide to make a toy of the time traveling train, if you're looking for an exclusive retailer, please reach out to us so I can sell it at Cool Kids Comics and Toys in East Meadow, New York.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you can charge double for
Double
us.
the price.
And yeah.
God.
I'll give you a
So I think
5%
we're
discount.
selling- it was
We're not
hot
selling it
cakes.
at 1955 prices. All right, it is time. Oh wait,
Well,
it's not time.
almost time, but I
Almost
just want
time.
to tell our folks that, believe it or not, there was a Back to the Future 4. So back in 2006, right?
Seven.
Seven.
Seven,
Okay.
yeah,
So my brother, Shawnee Babes, and I, we made Back to the Future Part 4. It's actually on YouTube. It's called Back to the Future Part 4. You can find it on Moran Brothers Productions on that channel. It's going to be split into 2 parts. It is heavily edited because at the time, YouTube was new. We didn't want too much there. But anyway, just to give the premise of the film is, obviously this is somewhat of an homage and also somewhat of a spoof of Back to the Future Part 4. But basically, I play Doc, my brother plays Marty, and Shawn plays Biff, or in this case, Cliff, Biff's nephew. And the premise of the thing is that Cliff stole Marty's demo tape, his band's demo tape, and we have to travel not to the past or the future, but to the present to retrieve the tape, and that's kind of the and it's only about 20 minutes long.
It's a parody. It's like
Yeah, but we actually had the opportunity to air it actually, or show it, I should say, at one of our close friends who actually edited one of our music videos at his film festival, the Levittown Bike Club Film Festival. So we had it at a theater, and it was quite fun. But I just wanted to share that, and I think it still holds up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
check it out.
It was-
Any real fan will check it out.
Mm-hmm. But PJ,
Pop quiz.
Uh-oh.
so this is a
boy.
pop quiz. This is Mr. PJ. And I were going to go back and forth with the questions, and this is Rob versus Shawn. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And Back to the Future trivia. So these are ones that we got online. Some we know, some I did not know. So it does get challenging after the about the quarter point.
I think I know the
So.
first one.
So here's what we're gonna do. We have 15 questions. We're gonna read the questions. Whoever gets it first gets the point.
Yep.
All right. So you gotta really be on the ball here. We're gonna start with an easy one for you.
Okay.
What was the name of Marty's band?
The Pinheads.
Ooh.
Oh.
I'm gonna give them both a point. That was
Okay.
a tie.
That's a tie. Okay. What was the nationality of the terrorist who shot Doc?
Libyans.
Ooh.
Oh.
Nice.
What was the name of Doc Brown's dog in 1985?
Einstein.
Ooh, that was a tough one. I'm gonna give them both a point. They were on the ball.
Okay. What was the date that Marty left in 1985?
October
26,
27.
1985.
I think Rob got that one.
Yeah.
I got that
26,
one.
right?
Yeah,
You're probably
26.
right.
Yep. Okay, Rob. So
What
right.
would-
I think we have a tie score right now.
Yeah, we are 3-3. I'm at
Okay.
3-3.
Okay.
What was the name of Doc Brown's dog in 1955?
Ferguson.
Copernicus.
Oh yes.
Yes, Copernicus.
Yes. Rob for the point. Nice. Okay, here we now. Truthfully, this is where it starts to get tough now. Okay. In Back to the Future Part 2, what brand of pizza does Lorraine bring to Marty's house?
Pizza Hut.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
He doesn't want to lose. Okay. What kind of gun does Marty use in Back to the Future 3?
Gunman.
No, what was that? West
Yeah.
something. West.
Weston.
Yeah.
Winston. Winchester.
Winchester or something, West-
I don't know it.
I
Right
thought it was
there.
that too, but I was actually wrong.
Ferguson's. I don't know.
It's a Colt 45.
Oh.
Wow.
In the first one, what was young George McFly's favorite television program?
Science fiction theater.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's stuff.
Ooh.
Wow, baby.
He's good.
Great Scott.
Yeah, great.
What is the name of the first McFly to be born in America?
Seamus.
No.
Oh, no.
That was I thought that one too. I got it wrong.
Kevin, Michael.
No.
If you keep naming names, you'll get them
Yeah, it's a
eventually.
popular name.
Ethan.
No.
No.
Ian.
All right. I think we've
Okay.
reached the
No.
time. It's William.
William.
Oh.
William McFly. Make sure you wait. What is it? Make sure like what does she say? No, I know I'm doing the wrong. Doing the wrong.
I knew you were going with that.
And what does she say? Oh, make sure you worry about make sure you think about the consequences of the future, McFly.
Yeah,
you know.
which one?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm next, right? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you're next.
Okay, this one's tough. What is the company's name that published George McFly's book, A Match Made in Space? I know it's tough. I know these are really
This guy
super
went
tough.
deep into the
Publishing
IMDb.
house?
Close. It is publishing is in it.
He went deep on the IMDb trivia to get these
Yeah.
questions.
I don't know.
Reading Rainbow published?
No.
It is
I don't-
Probert Publishing.
Oh, no
Probert.
way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Check
think
the
of that.
probate. Wrong Zemeckis movie.
I think someone's gonna get this one though.
Okay.
In Back to the Future, what does Marty McFly get served in 1955 when he asked for something without sugar?
A Pepsi.
Pepsi free.
tab free? No,
Coffee.
chocolate
Pepsi free.
Oh,
Yeah, coffee.
The coffee.
Damn it.
He ends up giving him coffee. He asks for a
That was
Pepsi
me
free.
supposed to
Yeah,
answer. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. This one's kind of pretty tough.
If someone gets
I
this
should've
one,
got that last
I'm gonna jump in right here.
PJ, you keeping score?
I'm keeping
okay,
score.
I
If you
I
get
messed
this
up.
is a 2-point question because it's
I'm gonna
impossible.
keep this one.
Okay. What is Jennifer's grandmother's phone number?
555-0193.
Wait.
Whoa.
Wait. One at a time.
555-0193.
555-4823.
It is
Yes.
48-23.
Wow!
That's
Oh,
a
got it.
two-pointer question.
I'm gonna
No,
tell you why I know
that.
1 point question. Just a 1 point.
No, that's a ridiculous
I'm
large
going to
question.
tell you why I know that, but after we do this game.
All right. I'm going to keep that as a 2-point question because that's ridiculous. No one should know that. No one should know that. The
I know,
fact that you were
that's
even
not
that
the thing.
close.
We can keep it as 1 point.
It's
1
a
point.
2-point question. We'll see how it goes at the end.
Okay. All right. We're on 13, right?
I'm on 13.
Okay.
Is that, I don't know who asked this
I
one.
think
I think
it
doesn't matter.
That's okay.
You ask it.
Okay. What is Doc Brown's middle name?
Lawrence. Leonard.
No, it's an L.
It is an L.
It's an L.
It's something really random.
Yep.
I knew this. It's a lithium.
Lithium.
Oh my God! I thought you were gonna get it for a second.
I
It's
know.
like
Libyan.
something with a.
No.
I know the first letter and the last letter. I can't get the whole name.
No.
Close. You're actually close.
It's like
It's
lift,
a leather.
lift, pop, lift, drop, lift.
Oh, he's so
lift,
close.
I think that's it.
Lift,
What was it?
lift, drop,
Yeah.
drop.
Lift,
I think
lift, lift,
I
last
think-
row.
I think-
Last
I think-
row.
More
What was,
German.
what was the middle name?
I thought it was more
Say
German.
I think
Say
it's lip drop. Yeah.
Lift
I
drop.
lift-
I wouldn't
I think
know.
it
It's
has-
not like I have a lift at this point.
I don't know it.
LATHROP. Lithrop, right?
Wow.
Thrift Rob.
Right? Do we give it to him, PJ?
I think we give it to him.
Because he basically
Okay, I
mispronounced it.
Who was the mayor of Hill Valley in 1955?
Red Thomas.
You got it.
Beatty?
Damn it, I mentioned that before.
All right, we are at the last question. So,
I do have a tiebreaker.
you have a tiebreaker?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just found it before.
All right, so you ask this question. I'll ask this one, then you'll
Yep,
do the tiebreaker
yep,
if we need it. Who was originally going to play Marty McFly?
Eric Stoltz.
Oh, it's
Whoa.
a tie.
Oh my God! Okay.
It comes down to the tie breaker.
Now whoever loses has to make like a tree and get out of here.
So why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
Okay. So actually, it's a question about Biff.
Oh.
How much did Biff need to pay for to clear the crap out of his car?
$300.
Beatty
Beatty.
with the win.
Oh.
Beatty for the win.
Wow.
That was a tight game.
Oh,
Wow. Well done, gentlemen.
By 1 point. The
Damn.
final score was 8-7 is what I have here.
Well, you gave him 2 points on one of
And
them.
you still
so-
won.
Yeah. Damn.
But you know what? Both
That
of you
was a tough
guys.
question,
Dude,
though.
I know.
I know that because of our film. I had made a flyer of the clock tower being hit, and I
Yeah.
wrote on the back the number.
All right.
Yes.
For some reason, I remember that?
Yes.
And I used to go on, dressed up as Marty on Halloween with
Yeah.
the flyer and keep writing the number. That's how I know it.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
mean,
that was great.
I
You got
did. Yeah, some of these questions I just didn't know too much about.
That's okay.
That was a tough quiz. You guys,
So,
you
that was
guys
pretty
both
good,
did
man.
great
Thank
on
you.
it.
Thanks so much.
Well, for those listening, we hope you enjoyed the show. It was great. Thanks for joining us, guys. But we're in luck because just like Back to the Future, they're gonna be with us in the future. PJ, they're gonna be in next week's episode.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's heavy, Doc.
Yeah. So you know the deal. Same time. Ha! Same time. Same
Same
table.
Have a good one.
Boys and girls, lunchtime is over. Please visit PJ and Mike's website, coolkidslunchtable.podbean.com for more information. Follow the boys on all social media apps. Just search Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast. Now get to class before you get detention.
Marty! You gotta come back with me!
Where?
Back to the future!